I need a mental health day. On December 9th, 1965, a special debuted that has become an institution. Coca-Cola had an idea for a Christmas special. Producer Lee Mendelson was first and foremost a documentary filmmaker who took the pitch to a major client, Charles Schulz. Mendelson lied his ass off about having a Christmas special involving the Peanuts gang. Schulz then called in Bill Melendez, a man who animated for both Disney and Warner Brothers, and was Schulz's right-hand man for animation, having worked with him on a car commercial for Ford. Both Schulz and Melendez had to pull a Christmas special out of their ass and fast, but it almost never aired. It was a film that featured jazz music and not the hip and happening sounds of rock and roll. It also stopped dead to quote scripture, something that was frowned upon in the golden age of television where everything had to be squeaky clean and safe. To top things off, CBS despised it. But CBS quietly put the special out with little fanfare and it became a cultural phenomenon overnight. 55 years later, A Charlie Brown Christmas has become such a cultural phenomenon that people were up in arms over the fact that Apple TV Plus now has exclusive broadcast rights, until PBS stepped in to intercept free television rights from Apple. A Charlie Brown Christmas was an institution in the Moore household. The soundtrack alone would get regular plays during Christmas time. I loved this special so much that as a kid, I watched it in the summertime. A Charlie Brown Christmas is 25 minutes of purity. So on Thanksgiving, after eating dinner, I decided to watch this, partially because this year has been mostly a hellish landscape. I needed some comfort. No matter how old you are, A Charlie Brown Christmas just feels like a warm blanket. The cold open alone is just sheer brilliance. The pure simplicity of children ice skating to Vince Guaraldi's mellow Christmas Time Is Here with very little dialogue is something to behold. But there is an easily noticeable cut. As Charlie Brown crashes into the tree, Snoopy whips Linus into a Coca-Cola sign in the initial broadcast. We cannot talk about A Charlie Brown Christmas without talking about Vince Guaraldi's legendary score. Vince Guaraldi was handpicked by Lee Mendelson after he heard the song Cast Your Fate to the Wind in his car. Guaraldi has a fairly simple setup for the score: a piano, a bass, and drums. The song Linus and Lucy has become synonymous with the Peanuts gang themselves. Each music cue in this special is perfect, be it the kids jamming to Linus and Lucy and not listening to Charlie Brown, or Charlie Brown and Linus strolling through the tree lot to Guaraldi's jazzy rendition of O Tannenbaum. The score for A Charlie Brown Christmas is so good that you could listen to this year-round. Another thing I love about A Charlie Brown Christmas is how this calls out rampant consumerism. I've seen stores as early as October put Christmas decorations on sale. Given that we are in a pandemic, Black Friday sales immediately rolled out in November. What Schulz was saying then has become increasingly relevant now. But this theme of commercialism is centered around one item: an aluminum Christmas tree. A little bit on aluminum Christmas trees. They were extremely popular in the late 1950s to the mid-1960s, with the most popular brand being Evergleam. Aluminum trees came with color wheels that changed the color of the Christmas tree. Lucy demands Charlie Brown pick up an aluminum Christmas tree for the big school play. Charlie Brown refuses and gets a tiny Christmas tree that is near death. He is laughed at and mocked for daring to be a nonconformist. But it's safe to say that A Charlie Brown Christmas single-handedly destroyed the aluminum Christmas tree fad, as these fell out of fashion shortly after, with regular production on aluminum Christmas trees stopping in 1967. So let's talk about Snoopy, because Snoopy is savage as fuck in this special.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg. slug you.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg.
I have dog germs. Get hot water. Get some disinfectant. Get some iodine.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg.
Snoopy is just fucking awesome, giving none of the fucks. And then there's my favorite joke of the show. A frustrated Schroeder pounding out a toy piano version of Jingle Bells to a bossy Lucy.
It's the motherfucking D.R.E. Dr. Dre, motherfucker.
Which then goes into the last 5 minutes of this special. Charlie Brown, completely frustrated over how the school play is being handled, just breaks down and asks one simple question.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about?
In a minute and a half, Linus recites the nativity story to an empty crowd. Mendelssohn and Melendez were completely against the idea, but Schultz says one thing to them. If we don't do it, then who will? It's at that very moment when Mendelssohn and Melendez got behind the idea. This was unheard of, a mainstream TV special directly quoting scripture. The beauty of this scene is that it doesn't come off as preachy. Another beautiful scene detail is that Linus's blanket is on the floor halfway into his delivery of the nativity story. Linus doesn't go anywhere without his blanket. Shortly after he quotes the nativity scene, the Peanuts gang decorates Charlie Brown's tree, all while singing Hark the Herald Angels Sing through the credits. So, I've never sat through the other special that comes on this Blu-ray. It's Christmas time again, Charlie Brown. What the hell? I'm feeling festive. Let's fire this up.
Now what?
Thanks, I hate it.
Within the first 5 seconds of this special, I already hate this. Do you hear the obnoxious overproduction of Linus and Lucy? Why does it have a hip-hop feel? Why is there an obnoxious sax solo? I'm just gonna let a clearly amateur and 4-year-old voice version of Franklin sum this god-awful special up.
Do you like to buy a Christmas wreath? Do you know what you are doing? Don't you realize you're adding to the over-commercializing of Christmas?
But there is another reason I wanted to talk about a Charlie Brown Christmas. I've been battling myself. I struggle with constant depression. There are days when I should be focused on editing a video or setting up a shoot, and I just don't get the momentum to do it. As I watched the last 5 minutes of A Charlie Brown Christmas, it made me forget about the time last year that I had to coordinate with my brother to get my mother's prized Santas out of the house, or else my father would have destroyed them because the pastors on his smartphone told him to. It made me forget about the times I felt like a has-been this year. It made me forget that I work a crushing dead-end job in the middle of a pandemic where every customer is the biggest piece of shit possible. It also made me realize that starting next year, I need to focus on my mental health. In those last 5 minutes, that blanket was truly comfortable. Be sure to like, comment, share, spread the word on New Realms Media. Follow me on all my socials at New Realms Media. And until then, thank you guys so much